little complicated, but when we really kind of step back and see it at a big picture, there's lots of really important insights for us in times that are challenging. And today we're looking at that idea of being disoriented, how disoriented change can make us, and how, yeah, there's a grieving of loss when we feel things are shifting and changing. And at the same time, there's this other bit of, like, in God's providence, God also holds it all in some miraculous way. So what I want to do is I want to talk about the Bible passage in particular today. It's a beautiful one. So here's Lot, and this biblical character, and he's being pulled out of these cities. And what the warning is to him is, and it happened when they brought them outdoors, the angel said, "Escape on your soul, don't look back behind you, and don't stop anywhere. Escape to the mountains, keep from being consumed." So it's this broad sweep of don't look back, don't look back, don't look back. And so much of change is deeply disorienting. And I want to just stop for a minute there, because it's really easy to think of change and read stories like this and just think, well, bad things will happen in life, hard things will happen, and so we instantly switch into something new. That's not how it works. I think we all know that. There's this period of disorientation. There's this period of just not sure where we're going. There's this period of just gray, like, what's going on here? Down is up is down. And that is very disorienting for people. And there is not an easy way through it. Like this Bible passage is talking about a journey. It's not talking about a quick and easy answer to things. And the story itself, the sort of the timber of the story, very, very common in Christian New Church theology, is this idea that when challenges come, they come because we no longer put people first. We stop being worried about love. We stop putting that as levels of focus, and we get far more into the truth, or the faith, just the pure faith side of things. In other words, the intellectual side of things versus this other part, the people side of things. In other words, we get the order reversed, and we start thinking totally from our head and no longer from our heart. And it's not that Lot in this story did those things. It's just that Lot was caught in those things, caught in these broad cultural sweeps, where that happened, where all of a sudden, like, humanity, as will happen, we forget the primacy of the heart. We forget the primacy is to always be loving as we can, thinking other people, thinking through how they're seeing the world, thinking how they're impacted by things. And how do we do that, friends? That's a really big question. And with all this, like, where I really want to be today is, I was listening to a podcast this morning about it. I really want to be clear, like, there's so many times in life where we go through big shifts and it just is disorienting, and we just have to allow that disorientation to be there and to take place, and the hurt and the upset and all of that goes with these shifts. And at the same time, there's also this bit of God holding us in a broader picture. And the broader picture is always this return to first, always this return back to our hearts. That's the way forward. Keep on thinking, how do I get back to the heart? How do I get back to love? How do I get back to having that being the orientation? We're going to look at this in a little more detail, a lot more detail actually, because each one of these parts of this passage are really profound. There's this having to leave because we've got priorities mixed up. And then there's this return to first, but it's in a new place. The mountains there, when it says pay attention to the mountains, it's paying attention to love. Like, that becomes the thing that we're to navigate by and navigate towards, which in other words, where we start again putting people first in our lives. All of this is really tricky. It's really tricky stuff. I think about in the era we live, where there's so much contention and so much change and so much disorientation. How do we get back again to these much deeper parts and reorienting ourselves around love? And that's not reorienting yourself around, like, this is the right answer. I think especially that around politics. It's hard to know all the time exactly what the right answer is. And yet we're always to be coming from that intention of being loving. And if we're not coming from that intention, we're going to find ourselves in trouble in a hot second, I believe. So, friends, it's a little bit of a, yeah, again, it's a little bit of a complicated story here, because that idea, don't look back. And when I hear those words, I think back to when my dad talked about, with my grandparents. My grandfather lost his business during the Great Depression, and literally they knew they were going to lose their home. It was a home on Graymore Road in Pittsburgh that was just their dream home. And they were having a hard time heating the place. And so grandpa's throwing books down into the furnace. And my dad's a little boy. He's like 10 at this time. And they're throwing books into the furnace. And he hears grandpa telling my grandma, like, don't look back, Lucille. And that is hard. And I imagine, again, like the disorientation that was happening there, the changes that were happening there. And again, nobody had done anything wrong. These are just changes that happen, and we can find them disorienting. So just allowing there to just be space for disorientation. I mean, maybe that's where we are. Maybe that's just what we're going to focus on today. Just allow there to be space for disorientation. If you're experiencing it, just allow there to be some space for that. Don't scramble to make a solution today. And the other one is there's probably somebody in your life who's just in that disoriented time. They're about to or are going through a major change, and just allowing that disorientation to be there, and to be there with them with deep compassion, really can make a difference. So I realize it's a little bit all over the place, and we're going to sharpen it up as we go forward in the days ahead. But I do think it's a fascinating story, and a really important one for us to hold in times that can feel so disorienting. So that's the thought for today, friends. And what we're going to do now is we're going to come into a gentle landing. And this gentle landing, we're going to listen to a prayer bell. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to do a little prayer. And then we will say hi to folks on Facebook. So with that, dear friends, let's get a little breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's get a little cheery hello. And yeah, I would love to hear how people are doing today. Patty, good morning to you, my dear friend. I don't know whether you're joining us from home or the road, but great to see you. Rita, how are you doing? Good morning to you. I hope life is good for you today. All right, so let's pull over to here. Alrighty, just one second here. Allow this thing to load on up. Come on, Nelly. Yeah, it may not be cooperating here, friends. Let's see. There we go. All right. So over on to here. Jeez Louises. It's cooperating with me this morning. All right. Linda writes, "What a good message. Thank you, Chuck." You're welcome, Linda. And yeah, it's just about sitting with it sometimes, which is so hard. Marcus, and good morning to you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. All right, dear friends. Well, certainly God bless all your paths today. And we will chat with you again tomorrow as we continue on this story as we're looking at the disorientation phase, and we're going to talk about a little bit of that journey, and then how can we start to get ourselves reoriented after finding ourselves so deep